Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to give you a big tip on stage fright. So if you're experiencing stage fright, I'd like you to repeat this over and over again. I care, but I don't mind. Again, I care, but I don't mind. I want to give you a little bit of a story which elaborates on that. And that, let's go back 11 years ago. It's been 11 years. I just quit my job in IT. This was my comfortable, kosher, full-time computer position where I was very comfortable with my life. I took the chance to become a performer, and Wakarusa was my very first gig. The front stage of Wakarusa with this awesome group called Quixotic, and we were right after Pretty Lights, front stage. Boom. Thousands upon thousands of people. This was the first time I had such a big audience, and I not only was I not used to it, this was going to be epic. This was my show because this is how I'm going to make like my path in the full-time performance world. So I put a lot of, I put a lot of pressure on myself because of the excitement of me quitting my job and saying, this is it. This is going to be the symbolic moment, Wakarusa. So what happens? What do you think happens? I get to Wakarusa and we're like right before we're up, Pretty Lights is up and they're just rocking it and there's just waves of people, right? I'm thinking in my head, this is it. I'm going to make this so epic. I'm going to make this so awesome. Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting to make something epic or awesome or feeling that energy and letting it unleash out. Matter of fact, that's why we're performers. We're performers because we have something to say. We have something to express. And when we can connect our energy with the audience, that is when it's perfect. That is the connection. That's why we're artists. However, there is a trick. There's a skill to this. So I didn't quite have that skill developed in performance yet. Anyways, it's my turn to go up. Finally, the time is here. My nerves, my chest is pounding out of my chest. My heart is pounding on my chest. And I take a step out onto the stage and I look out there, just the waves of people. And there is so much energy from that audience. I heard my song going and I was just in awe of this crowd in front of me. And I started getting scared, getting nervous. I was like, how did I get here? What if I'm not good enough? There might be better people in this audience. How do I do this? And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to do what's safe. I'm going to do what's simple. And so I did. I kept it to what's safe. And let me tell you something. When you're performing, it's good to keep it safe. Matter of fact, if you go out there and you think, I'm going to give it my best, and you give it your 100%, like when you're at home, that's when you do all your drops. And you don't want to do that in a performance. But in my world, I was doing all those moves that I was doing at home when I was having the perfect day. And I thought that that's how I would get it. And so when I was out there, I was nervous. And fear kept me from doing all the big tricks. And when I was done, I realized this was the worst performance of my life. How could this be? How could this be? The worst performance of my life. Oh, I'm done for. Stab in the heart. So I'm walking, after this, I'm walking through the audience. And you know what happens? You know what happens? People come up to me and they say, that was awesome. Oh my goodness. I was blown away. That was incredible. I was like, thank you. Yeah, that's cool. And after they walked away, I was like, oh, what? What? Really? Is that for real? Are they for real? Nah, they're just full of it. And I kept walking and more people kept telling me this. This was my lesson. This was my reminder that I care. Like I care about my craft. I care about my art. And there's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, we need to care. We need to put everything we are into our art and into our craft. So when we go out there and it funnels through us, boom, they get they blast of energy and they go for a ride. But I minded their energy. I focused on their energy. I focused on my impact as opposed to just resonating, just taking that energy and opening it up like a chest and letting all that energy go whoosh, and just blasting them with it and then taking them on a journey because we're storytellers. We're guiding them on a journey. We're telling a story, whether it's an emotional one of feelings or whether it's an actual story, we are moving them with our movements. And that is an essential thing to think about. Sometimes it's better to think that if your job as a performer is to entertain the audience, are they entertained? Yes, they are. And so what is actually the problem here? What is the problem? Well, I'll tell you what the problem is is you aren't happy with yourself because you had expectations and you wanted it to be better than it was. So the audience could see. The audience loved it. But you think in your head, but you didn't see this move. And later on in life, I learned that performing is more of a form of communication. It wouldn't have mattered if I did those moves. What mattered is how I did those moves and why I'm doing those moves. And how does that all connect in the big scheme of things? It doesn't. You don't have to be the fanciest guy. You don't have to have all the tricks, but you can communicate it well. You can take them on a journey, and that says so much more. That says so much more than what tricks you can do. So much more. So, the next big show, I made a promise to myself that I would never do that to myself again. And for performances, I never did. It's to care and not to mind is a lifelong philosophy, and it has to be reworked over and over in a lot of different phases. I think it works universally on everything. It's just, it takes work. It just depends. But let me tell you, the next show that I did was in Costa Rica. It was in Vision Festival. And I when I came in there to do my gig, I just did not mind. I was like, I'm just going to blast off. I'm going to have fun. Whatever the audience thinks, screw it, is what they think. I'm just going to enjoy myself. You know what? It was one of the best shows I ever had in my entire life. I went from the worst show to the best show. That was probably the first time I was actually able to get it all out. And I needed that bad experience to teach me what exactly I needed to do the next time. And I blasted that energy out, and they felt it. And I could tell, and we felt connected. And after I was done, the guy that has the people come up to perform, he stopped me. He was like, "You're going to perform again, right?" I was like, yeah, I think I am. And ever since then, it's never been the same. I've always had this in me now where I could be a powerhouse performer, where I feel connected to the audience. So I think the trick, you guys, is to care, but not to mind. Now, it's easy for me to say, hey, you should care and not mind. And then you think in your head, hey, I should care and not mind. And you know what? This is something that I apply to everything universally. And there's still a lot of things that I can't do this with, because we have to figure out, well, why do you mind? Why do you check in with the audience? We know why you care, because art is a craft and it's part of you and it's your identity and all kinds of things wrapped into it. And that's good, because then when you blast it off, then everyone else can relate it with their identities and all that jazz. Why do you mind what they think? What is it? Is it self-esteem? Is it, is it social anxiety? But there's going to be things that will make you mind. And you telling yourself, yeah, I don't mind, may not be enough, because you just need to see what blocks you from being able to just freely express yourself, right? So you should definitely try just to tell yourself, I don't mind, and make it a mantra, and see if you can just blast through, because sometimes that's enough to kick those doors down. But even if that isn't enough, then ask yourself, well, what makes me mind so much? And you know what? Then it's just a little background work. And as you keep doing the background work, keep trying to kick that door down. And if that door doesn't kick down, then you keep rinsing and repeating until that one day that happens and you have that breakthrough moment. Just don't give up. It's gonna happen. Just keep figuring out what it is that makes you check in, what makes you connect with them, and makes you lose connection with yourself. Because your goal as a performer, again, is to get your energy resonated out, to tell your story, to create waves that they can surf on, that they can ride until you're done, and then they have the experience and you have the feeling of that connection. That's just all.